Hello, ladies and listeners. My name is Joey Tuason, your hairless host, and welcome to the Individual Collective Show. This is a podcast about how people create value for others through their uniqueness. On today's episode, we have Mr. Miro Grgic. He is the co-founder and director of Malasimbo Music and Arts Festival. I've been in 2013 and it was a great event, and there's a lot of great music, really good sound quality, really good crowd as well. So if you haven't been, check out malasimbo.com. This episode is also brought to you by The Study by Enderan. The Study by Enderan is a great co-working space, so if you're a startup looking for some space to host your team, this is a cool spot to do it. Check us out at Estancia Mall on the second floor. This podcast is powered by DV Tech. DV Tech handles all our equipment here, so if you're planning to shoot a podcast of your own, hit them up on DV Tech at Facebook. We're also brought to you by Fiverr. Fiverr is this website where you can find a bunch of freelancers online and they can help you with your creative endeavors or technicals. If you want something to be programmed or create artwork, they have it all there for you. All of the artwork in the podcast was made through Fiverr, so it's a really good platform. Check it out. Without further ado, please welcome Miro Grgic. Miro, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
How's life nowadays?
Excellent. Family life.
Family life. Your dad, you have one child, one's on the way.
I have a
Very happy about it?
3-year-old and I have one in the pupa, as we say.
Nice. And just I want to start with you taking me through your journey through the Philippines, because you're Croatian who lived in Australia, who has a French wife, who's now in the Pinas. It's all very confusing.
Well, I was born and raised in Croatia in a city called Vukovar, which underwent a homeland war. Serbs were aggressors, and they took over the city I was living in. I was 12 at the time, so we were war refugees for 3 years. And in that time, we were able to find refuge in Australia because my auntie lived there. So we got her to sponsor us, and we were able to get a visa. We went to Australia. And whilst I was living in Australia studying sound engineering and management, and partying, I often met and got along with Filipinos.
Oh.
And this is where I met my friend Christian and Vico, who eventually brought me to the Philippines. And I used to come here every year from about 2005. I think every year I came and went to Boracay for New Year. And I met my wife through the boys again, and I met her in Paris because she was still studying. I was back in Croatia at the time. I hadn't been dating for a long time before I met my wife, so I was kind of like over the whole, quick sort of flings. I was just waiting for something proper. And she actually first appeared in my life when I met Selene.
Okay.
Selene was the one that said, "I know the right girl for you." Because I walked into some cafe. She was dating Christian at the time, and she just looked at me, and out of nowhere, she just went, "I know the right girl for you." And I'm like, "You don't even know me."
Well, she just met you that day, and she said
she hadn't even shook my hand at that point. So I was like, because I like to think that I can be slightly clairvoyant sometimes. I'm like, "Ooh, that's very interesting." Very few, you don't meet people like that are so,
So Len Husaf was your matchmaker in a way.
She was a matchmaker. Yeah.
Wow. And then so you went from Australia, then you just decided. Why did they convince you? Like, what convinced you to come back here? How did the boys?
Well, basically, I've been coming here for holidays, but I started going out with Olivia. She was in Paris. I was in Australia. And after school, I invited her to come to Australia live with me.
Okay.
And so she came to live with me. And whilst we were living together, I already bought a townhouse. I had my own car. I was a very busy guy in Australia. In Australia, I had 10 years of doing sound engineering and tour management and working for various establishments and venues, doing sound and promoting and DJing and being the music guy. So whilst Olivia was there, I was doing all this night work, and she was preparing for her first exhibit at the Ayala Museum, which was happening March 2010. It just happened to be that one of my clients was Sofitel Brisbane and Sofitel Gold Coast, and the general manager of that hotel got offered Sofitel Manila GM. And so he called me up and he said, "Hey bro, I got Sofitel Manila offered, or Sofitel Mumbai. What do you reckon?" And I remember that phone call. I'm like, dude, definitely go to Manila. I got really cool friends. They're awesome people. Go to Manila.
Yeah.
And so he took the job in Sofitel Manila, not based on my feedback. He just took the job in Sofitel Manila, arrived in Manila, and there was one of his clubs that weren't doing well, Siete Picados. And because I was involved with Sofitel's outlets in Brisbane and Gold Coast, and especially launching the Red Room at Sofitel Gold Coast, which did really well, he thought, I'll bring this guy over to help me with this club. And so he also knew that Olivia was coming back here, so he thought this will align really well. And he thought, okay, why don't I offer Miro a director of entertainment job at Sofitel Manila? And he invited me over, and I lived at the Sofitel here for 10 months.
Oh, nice.
So that's how I really came to live here. And so, of course, Olivia and I came here. Olivia had her exhibit. I took on a corporate job. It's the first time that I ever had a corporate job. By that time, I was mostly self-employed. I had my own company. Other than working in construction over the weekends, helping my dad, because we were building houses as well. I would just, I would just be working in the music industry.
Olivia's father lived in Puerto Galera. Does he
No,
still
they never really lived there. I mean, they all live in Manila. They just have a house there in Galera.
And he was the one that you sort of co-founded Malasimbo with, right?
Well, he was, when I came here during my job at Sofitel, I was like, there's a whole lot of artists here, very few platforms. And the artists that I was booking, a lot of the jazz musicians and some of the tasty DJs, this is before sort of the DJ scene blew up. This is what you're talking like back in the day. So they were all saying the same thing to me. There is talent. It's just that there ain't enough platforms. The clubs that there are out there, it's very limiting.
Yeah.
And we just don't have much to bounce off. So I thought, well, maybe that's my calling, because I'd done production work at festivals and sound engineering work, and I did a whole Nokia tour as a technical director for 4 or 5 dates in Australia. So I was very much experienced in putting on events and running a club, for example, as well, and booking acts and things like that. So I thought, well, there's no festivals here. Fuck it, let's do a festival. If I do a festival properly, it'll just lead to a whole lot of work. It'll lead to the trend of festivals. The festivals were coming up anyway in 2000. So I just thought, someone's going to take the leap and do a festival. And I went and I spoke to the event companies here in Manila. Spoke to a bunch of event companies and a bunch of people that run a whole bunch of clubs around this place. I said, hey guys, let's partner and do a festival. No one was interested. Really? Everyone said, nah, festivals will never work in the Philippines, or nah, it's not going to work, blah, blah, blah. So I literally had no one that was interested in taking a risk on the first festival, because again, it hadn't been a proven concept.
Yeah.
A lot of these event people, they just work on corporate feedback. If the corporates don't want the festivals, fuck it, don't give them the festivals. So of course, no one was interested in it because it wasn't money.
Yeah.
Whereas I wasn't being, I'm not a person that is motivated by money anyway. I'm just motivated to be happy and to do what I love, which I've always done. That's just the way I have lived all my life. So I thought, fuck it, I'm still gonna do this. So it just happened to be that we were in Galera for Christmas or something like that. And Hubert was like talking to a whole bunch of people, gift visitors that he had, about, really we gotta do something for Galera, something to help Galera raise above and get on the tourism map.
Yeah.
And coming from Croatia, where festivals go hand in hand with tourism, I said, well, we could do a festival. I've been looking for a place to do a festival. We could do a festival in Puerto Galera, and that will definitely raise its profile, which is what it did.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when you do an event that is across the water, that is on the island, you're not going to be as, how do you say?
Accessible.
As accessible, and you're not going to appeal to the larger mass that I see that's scared to travel there. You're not going to appeal to the corporations to sponsor you because it's too hard to get up there.
It's a very risky event to start.
Extremely risky. Up on the mountain,
I remember I went to the one with the Joe Batan.
Yeah.
And you have to take that tricycle up and...
On the mountain, people thought I was crazy, and they still are. People still think I'm crazy because I dared to do something that people consider to be impossible. So I guess in many ways, I think a lot of people saw that, oh shit, this is an actual creative endeavor. This is not just a money-making thing. It's not just someone's cash cow.
Yeah.
And of course, I went out there. I wasn't booking high-profile bands. I was just booking new bands that haven't had a chance. So that's why with me, I like one way to completely, go on the not getting booked at the festival is to say that you know someone, or to say like, I'll play for free or something. I'm not interested in any of that. Of course, I just turn on the music. If it sounds good, I'm into it. If it doesn't sound good, doesn't matter who you know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's true.
So, it is a creative endeavor. I only have the tools that I have, and so I just use those tools that I know.
Yeah. And Malasimbo has sort of turned into this creative platform where you found a lot of local talent and a lot of international talent as well, and you gathered them together, right?
Absolutely. I mean, just to name a few of the talents that are now really big, like your Jacob Collier, we had him at Malasimbo 2016, whereas he's actually the second most requested artist of Malasimbo this year. 3 years too late. Sorry, 4 years too late. FKJ, we had him in 2015.
Yeah.
He met his wife, June Rizzi, at Malasimbo.
At Malasimbo?
Yeah. June ran down the hill, came up to me and went, "Where is he? Where's Vince?" And he's sitting just there. He just ran over to him. Obviously, she had a massive crush on him already. They'd chat before already. And but they met at Malasimbo, and then they played, I don't know how many years after at Malasimbo, and I brought them down to Palawan as well. Yeah. But now, of course, they're so big, I mean, especially FKJ, that he's getting booked by the other competitors in Manila. And so,
That's true.
Because of course, they have a much bigger reach. So for them, it's all a win-win scenario.
Yeah.
I'm out already. I'm not interested because I've done what I meant to do, which is, help build them up from the ground up.
Yeah. You're planting the seeds.
Yeah, planting the seeds. Hopefully they come back.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of artists don't. A lot of artists. I'm an artist, so I can say this.
Yeah.
A lot of artists will, the moment they get up there, they're gone. See you later. Don't expect. And I do everything because of who I am. I don't do anything because I expect anything in return. I've done what I had to do, and I'm very happy to see people successful.
Yeah.
And I still keep doing what I do. But I don't really have an interest in try and go cash in on some of that.
Yeah.
I just don't look at it like that.
That's also the charm of Malasimbo. Like, where I think people who go there, they don't really know some of the bands there, so there's also trying to explore and find new bands as well, right?
Yeah, and some of the other festivals are doing the same similar thing now. Is trying to book like all the unknown names, so that it looks like it's really cool. Yeah, it looks hipsterish. Like. Again, we were also the first environmental, we were like an eco-cultural tourism festival. So we were the first festival that was, we were serving food in a coconut shell with banana leaf under it and everything.
I remember that with a recyclable fork. That's the first time I saw a recyclable fork. I was like, what?
Yeah, you can have recyclable fork made out of cornstarch and things like that, just starch. So we were doing that from the first year, and we weren't really using it to like, as a sales point.
It was just what you did.
It's just what we did because we were in the nature, and my wife just hates all the plastic. I hate all the plastic. I think everyone hates all the plastic now, but back then, well, actually even now, not everyone is aware of stuff. Sorry, but back then, I mean, it was very fresh and very new. Now it's kind of like it's a trendy thing. Now these days, if you don't do a festival that's eco-culturally, that's eco-conscious, you're not really cool and hip. Because I think all the young kids, you need to be at least thinking about it. Most people, I believe people are hypocrites. So most people try to be environmentalists. Yeah. But, the way I see it is, we're all environmentalists in polyester clothing, as far as I see it.
That's a good way to say it. When going back to talent, are there certain principles that you have when you're looking for new talent?
Yeah,
looking for talent.
Very basic principle. It's just, I really just listen to the music. Like I said before, you can't come to me and know someone or drop some, like I said, drop some names. Or offer to play for free. I have no interest in that. To me, if it sounds really good, if it's good songwriting, if it's captivating, there's something about it, I'm into it. But if it's, first of all, I don't like, a lot of people send me iPhone recordings. So I can't hear nothing on an iPhone recording. Yeah. If someone sends me an iPhone recording, that to me is like, okay, that's a hobby. So for me, I see a world of songwriters and performers, and then I see a whole bunch of bands in between. And these bands sometimes have good songwriting, but the making of timeless music is a process that involves amazing songwriting and amazing arrangement and all this sort of stuff, which I find is a process that isn't so easy, and quite often these days is forgotten how important really good songwriting, the right chord at the right time. So for me, it's very simple. I just choose music on basically what I hear. If I like it, for example, this year I booked these two groups called Project Jazz and we have, I think, 250 fans on Facebook.
Wow.
But the Project Jazz guys, it's a duo. It's a girl singing to a guy playing bass, playing jazz bass.
Yeah.
So singing on top of just jazz bass
Ooh.
without the chords, it's challenging.
Yeah.
Because he can play some off notes and you have to still stay in key. So I like that because it was different. And the other guys had a cello. They sounded more ethnic world music. Because I'm always looking for like Cooling Tongue and local authentic instruments being more incorporated into whatever the genre is defined here.
Yeah.
Mostly a lot of music here is just Western with local lyrics like the rest of the world just has. But it's nice when you have a Korean band and they bring all the Korean traditional instruments.
Yeah.
And I book all the taiko drums band playing, from Japan, things like that. So, like we had Grace Nono and Bob Aves do that. Bob Aves passed away recently, but they were one of the best that did that locally. They really, you really felt like you were watching something Filipino. When we brought out the Mindanao singers before as well, so that it really resonates. Wow.
Yeah.
When we put the videos out, wow, you can really feel that this is the Philippines.
Yeah, and I guess
so I try to achieve that, but I'm not so in tune with all the bands, and I look for them everywhere. It's hard to find. It's really like I've tried to find a Cooling Tongue ensemble, and there is in Mindanao, but it is like so many Cooling Tongues. There's a lot of people and quite complex. It's like a 50-man orchestra.
Are there any tools that you use to find talent, or is just networking?
Online. Well, people send me stuff all the time, but I'm online always sort of checking out all other lineups and I just keep my finger on the pulse. Yeah. Some of my friends work at record labels now, or they work at the radio stations, so I see their playlists and I just see where what fits. And for me, like I said, if I hear it, if I feel that it resonates with the Malasimbo brand and the crowd that I think we have, I'll get it.
Yeah. But
I don't really look too much in the data. Like for me, sometimes the data is not right. It doesn't reflect the truth.
Yeah.
Sometimes some people have a lot of Spotify streams and stuff, but to me the music sounds very plain. So I always think it's people who don't have much of a taste listening to it. You know what I mean? It doesn't just, so I don't go off that.
Yeah.
Or how many Facebook followers you fan, or how well you're using your Instagram. Doesn't interest me. I just want to hear like genius songwriters, because I grew up with genius songwriters in my circle. And so I have a very high standard of songwriting that I like. Yeah. So for me, it's songwriting. That's really the main thing that I listen to in when I'm curating the event. Rather than more than the performers. But I try to get a good balance of performers. Like Brigada is good performers. They come up with all drums and they smash out the drums. That's great performance. Songwriting is, I really think it's a different skill altogether. I try and attempt writing songs. I've written 200 songs since just my son has been born. But I don't think I'm a good songwriter. I think I'm a mediocre songwriter. I can write some poppy stuff. Maybe if I sat down with someone, we could write better songs, but I'm just not there yet.
And that's why you're planning to put up this
I'm hoping to put up a little publishing company with someone. Well, primarily I'll be driving it. But I'm very close with I've been recently asked to manage some Australian artists, actually. So I'm going into the artist development, artist management, just because people have asked me to do it, and the right people. Like someone that I regard to be probably one of the best songwriters in the world has asked me to manage him. So his best skill is songwriting, not necessarily performance. He can perform, and he's an amazing performer when he plays the guitar, but being an amazing guitarist doesn't mean that it translates into the audience either. Because the amazing guitarist appeals to the songwriters, not necessarily to the masses, to the general demographic. So all these things taken into consideration, we're sitting down in the studio when he comes here next year, and we're getting down to work, writing a lot of songs, and working with some of the local record labels to give them some songs specific for their artists. Because there's a lot of really good singers, I think, in the Philippines.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent here, right? But I feel like there's certain things that are stifling our creativity as a nation. What do you think about that?
God, I mean, there's a lot of things. Like in Australia, we have a great live sound engineering course that I went through. And so everyone in Australia is very, well, I won't say everyone, but we do take our sound very seriously. A lot of the venues have acoustic
treatment. As a nation, you do.
Yeah. Well, everywhere, I think. Not everywhere, actually. I shouldn't say that. Most of the world is really full of, in the sound engineering world, we refer to, we have a very condescending term as for residents and bad sound. I don't want to use them, but it's just difficult to put on a show if you don't have good sound. And so sound quality, being a sound engineer, for me is first and foremost the most important thing. You can have the best band in the world, if they sound shit. People are going to just get the shitty part. So for all these people missing out just because they're hearing all this resonance, or because some guitar player has turned his amplifier fucking to 9, and like everyone is trying to keep up with his volume because he thinks he's a rock star. He's in the rock world, dude. You're all a band. Just fuck up on stage. You're here for the audience. You're not just here for yourself. Oh, I'm in a band because I love being in a band. Okay, but you're performing for them. There's a certain volume threshold. After 90 decibels, after 3 minutes of 90 decibels, you're getting hearing damage. So if people were more conscious of that and the volume, that in itself will help to make things tighter to the public. I don't want to say what's stifling the industry, but I think
that's one of the things, definitely.
But that's one of the many things. I think what's stifling the world as a population is, in many ways, like culture is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. In every country, there's great things about culture, and there's really bad things about culture. And so it's all the bad things about culture that are stifling any country. I mean,
a lot of factors.
These are the key ones. Like I hear a lot of, oh, you're great. Oh, all these talents. All this. Really? I see a bunch of bands blowing up. The rest of them are just holding down gigs.
That's
let's just look at the data and facts and see what those are saying. I recognize there's talent everywhere. Everywhere you go. And generally, the talent seems to rise with those that have a story to say. A lot of the songs that come out that are really great is because someone's really struggled and gone through the blues. They've got some really things to cry about, because then people can feel it.
Great art sort of comes from the pain.
Absolutely. Great art, most of the great art has come from suffering. Not to say all of it. Not all of it. Some amazing artists come from super rich, totally spoon-fed people, but they just had part of their brain they were exposed to things that just made them really amazing artists. So it's not you can't generalize with these sort of things. But of course, if you look at history, it'll tell you that definitely suffering and pain makes you vent in a colorful way, where the music tends to be shaped somewhat better for the listener, I guess.
And I guess they resonate with that because they're going through the same stuff. It has something to do with that a little bit.
You just feel it. You feel for it because you've probably gone through something similar. It's amazing. Just a couple of words and the right chords and the right note can make you feel like you completely relate to that person. Or you're the same as that person.
And triggers memories too. Like music triggers memories. It's a weird sort of thing, right? But speaking of music, since you're a sound engineer, I think you'd be qualified to answer this. When does sound become music?
I think when there's a message, when there is something that's greater than just trying to write a song and be in a band. When you can go out there and either have a great story, really good poetry, it really helps. So for me, it has to be kind of structured and complete, and it has to be very competitive today, because everyone's got a recording device. So these days, when the sound turns into music, when it's something that is unique and different and colorful, and it's kind of real. It's very easy to see through the bullshit. Like there's a whole lot of we're in the second generation of all these like Hollywood kids coming through and becoming stars. And they're just sort of, but there's not much in the story, because they ain't saying much to me. Maybe some other kids are resonating with it, but I'm not. I mean, there's just
it sounds like baby rap sometimes. There's this really good comedian. He was like, a lot of the raps nowadays, especially like the British rap, kind of sounds like baby rap. They're like,
or just I don't know. It's not just hip hop and rap. I don't want to diss the genre because I love hip hop.
Hip hop's great.
And it's just, it's like I said, everyone can be in a band. Back in the day, it wasn't like that. It wasn't. I don't know. Maybe not that you couldn't. Everyone could be in a band even back then. It's just now it's really accessible to everyone. There's social media.
And so you have new players who come in who might not even be that great, but then they're in the game, because it's easier to be in the game.
But most of the world is full of highly mediocre bands. Highly mediocre bands. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
Because only so few make it. That they're obviously the rest are just either really mediocre or they're just treating it as a hobby and haven't committed, which is what I also feel is, like when you're talking about stifling industries, like complacency. Complacency, I use that word a lot now because
It's a good word.
it's a great word. I mean, when people are complacent,
Yeah.
oh, well, fuck it, it's cool. No, it's not.
Yeah.
There's not. So that's for me. It's like I feel like there's not enough people saying it's not good enough.
Yeah.
That's
true. There should be more of them out
Yeah,
there.
I mean, it's okay to be constructive.
Yeah.
They give criticism.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I grew up on a big fucking spoon of that stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up on the, hey, you're doing great.
Yeah.
Fuck it. I've never even heard that.
Yeah.
To this day. I don't want to hear that.
And you're a father now, right?
And I'm a father, yeah.
So how are you gonna raise your kid creative? Because I feel like now when you say you're a creative person, it's kind of like you're coming out of the closet. Like,
yeah,
I'm creative. I can draw. I'm sorry. I know.
I don't know if I want to push him into doing anything like. You probably had very similar upbringing where your folks let you sort of decide what you fit in with the best. My son is extremely talented with his feet and kicking the football, but that is a genetic thing because I had the same gift, and he's very talented with all the music instruments. But considering that I'm a relatively mediocre musician, I think him hearing me make mistakes playing my musical instruments is enough to deter him from wanting to be a musician.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Even if he sings a lot and he knows all the Beatles songs and everything in the car, listens all the time with me.
We should hang out with him.
Yeah, totally. And he loves music, don't get me wrong. But I think he's a little bit too smart, number one, and maybe he goes, I'd like for him, if anything, if I ever say I'm going to be a doctor. Because I do find biology and chemistry and physics, and especially, the medical, world, I do find it fascinating. And I do, sorry to say this, but I pretty much judge people, doctors and teachers, and then down,
You see them as a high on the...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyone who's...
Why?
Because it's the ultimate. You're going out there to save lives. You're saving... I know art can also save lives.
Yeah.
Sure. Not saying it's not, but...
You're there in the hospital bed, you're saying to someone who's in a coma, and maybe you'll wake up.
They wake up, and they do.
They do. Yeah, music does, for...
absolutely.
People who have Parkinson's, it helps them calm down.
Absolutely.
Speech impediments.
Yeah, and Alzheimer's and lots of things that music is amazing for, art in general. But it's not like you're on the table opening someone up and stitching them, stitching up a new heart in there, That person is sweating because he's literally saving that person's life. Yeah. So to me, that person is automatically up there, number one by far.
Yeah.
And of course, your teachers and anyone who's doing even... I feel more for people that are standing, all the people who are standing on the street, like the security people all the time, letting people into all the different villages that are having to stand on the streets, inhale this pollution. I rank all these people way higher.
Yeah. They have the toughest jobs too.
Absolutely. That's why I don't like when there's a lot of people spit on them or aren't nice to them. All these people that are doing tough, grimy jobs to save humanity, I kind of rank them up there.
But there's no way your son's gonna end up like an accountant or something. Because I'm just thinking, you're very creative, your wife's very creative, she does art. So I mean, when someone grows up in that environment, there's no way he's gonna be like an accountant.
Unless he rebels against.
Unless he rebels, you guys. Unless you don't like each other, and he's like, no, I'm gonna go to finance.
You know what I mean? Which could be a good thing.
Not that there's anything wrong with finance.
You could be very creative in finance.
Yeah. It could be.
So you can be very creative in anything you do. That's the beautiful thing. I think in generally, the theory of being happy in life is just to be as creative as you can with your life. Whatever you're doing.
Why is that?
Well, because if you get stuck in a lull, it gets boring. Especially if when you get married.
Yeah, doing the same thing.
Doing the same thing all over again. If you don't have your extracurricular activities where you're playing in a band or you're playing basketball, very quickly you get bored of things.
Yeah.
And if you're just depending on that stimulation at home, well, your kids are going to leave home before like that.
Yeah.
And then you got to work out what else you guys are going to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in this period now. Our son is 3. We're having a new kid, so we're really just family.
Yeah.
Really, So my biggest friend, my best friend is beer.
Yeah. Well, creativity is like is innate to everybody, right?
Absolutely.
And so,
Like I say, everyone's an artist until they're told that they're not.
yes, I remember when I was told I wasn't creative. I was in like kindergarten, and we were doing these snowflakes, where you cut it all up with different shapes and
Yes.
stuff. And they were all doing the triangles and the squares and the circles. But I was like, I want to be creative. I'm gonna just do lines. So I just did lines all around. I was super happy. I brought it up to my teacher, and she goes, "Huh? You just did lines?" And that, like, for me was like, whoa. And I remember that was Kinder 1.
Isn't that amazing, huh?
Yeah, it was Kinder 1, and they tell you right off the bat, no, you have to do what everybody else is doing. You have to make the triangles and the squares and the circles too.
And that's the thing about an industry being stifled, is that I also feel that, this whole creativity being not being, basically, I feel that if you don't sort of follow some kind of an instinct inside you that you're meant to do something, it's very quickly to get lost.
Is it a gut feeling?
Yeah, of course it's a gut feeling. You know that you're meant to do something. I've always just followed my gut. I've never really gone off track because I've just followed my gut. This is what I'm meant to do. This is what I feel good doing. So I just kept doing
you have to enjoy it.
And
you have to enjoy it.
And to this day, I still do it. I still do what I did when I was a 15-year-old or 10-year-old. I still do the same things.
Yeah.
And it takes me back to my youth.
That's true.
So, but the status quo is very dangerous. Like, I find that, again, we're talking about culture stifling the industry. Like, the more you abide by a status quo or any man-made set of rules, the less likely you're going to develop an open mind. There's just so many things that keep man in some kind of a confinement.
In a bubble.
In a bubble of whatever beliefs that they have, or whatever they think is the core of the values that they need to live by because it's been set by the previous people. A lot of these things are good, but a lot of them are bad. And a lot of the great revolutionary music that's come out is in rebellion to the status quo.
That's true.
So, again, even in the Philippines, I see it. Anyone who's doing something that's not with the trend, well, they definitely get my attention, but they end up doing their own cool thing. They become a super big influencer eventually. Because, that's the thing. Things take time.
Yeah.
And a lot of these artists, some of them these days can take a decade. Even though they've been around 10 years ago, they may take 10 years to get somewhere.
Yeah.
But then when they get there, they're really influential because they did something completely different. They went away from what everyone else was doing. And then they set a path. And then so many people followed in that path that now there's so many people doing that.
Yeah.
So a lot of this non-conforming to the status quo creates all these revolutionary sounds or things. And,
it's like the psychedelics songs with the Beatles, right? They're the first ones to write a psychedelic genre.
So they claim.
And metal. They claim.
So they claim.
Helter Skelter.
They can claim everything.
Because they're the Beatles.
Because they're the Beatles, yeah.
They're the greatest band.
But yeah. Well, yeah, they were at the forefront of everything.
Well, speaking of how different genres come about from different hard times, right? Like soul music sort of came about through the civil rights movement. And what do you think our music today reflects about our nation?
Potential.
Nice. A lot of potential?
Yeah, there's a lot of potential.
Is that because we're bad? Or that's just because you see a lot of talent?
No, it's because I see a lot of, I don't like to use the word talent, sorry. I just see a lot of people who are performers who just are supporting the music industry because music is a very big thing here.
Yeah.
And so I see a lot of potential in that.
In that side,
but you can have as much potential as you want if you don't have the execution. There's no point.
Yeah. We need more executors.
So there's a system. The music business is very complicated, and it's very rooted. It's like very kind of evil and twisted.
Yeah.
If you read some books, man, it's very evil. And like for example, there's a lot of managers, quote unquote, in the Philippines who are actually just booking agents. You just literally just call them up and they just take a booking fee because they're doing all the bookings.
30% for,
whatever, 10, 20, 30, I don't know what they take. I don't care, I don't want to ask because I'll get pissed off if I find out that they're taking a lot. Because I don't like that artist being at the losing end. But so you deal with all these people who don't actually understand live performance royalties, mechanical royalties, how to develop a strategic approach to releasing music now intertwined with social and digital. Like, I don't see a lot of planned things being executed really well and finely.
Yeah.
I have seen a few, don't get me wrong. There's been some bands, actually some of them, most of them that have done really well have actually had their parents at their back.
Who supported them.
And parents who have been in the music industry who are performers themselves.
So they understand
So
that
they
you can't get cheated on.
That's right, they're a second generation. But then, I also know there's bands that, you got a couple of members and all the parents are involved. So then that causes pressure on the band because all the parents are involved. So again, we're still, I find, a few years away from there being really, really good management companies that understand the music business to the nitty gritty. Because that's, I think, something that could be useful. Again, you can have all these artists and performers and talents, as you call them, but if they're not managed properly, if they're not being booked properly, if they're not releasing the right material to the right people, it could just be a waste of time. So it's like any product. You've got a Macintosh here. If they didn't produce that properly with a whole team involved in the business and development side of things, we would never have even had it. Do you know what I mean? So music is like that. It's like any other product. You kind of have to treat it like a product at the end of the day. And a lot of artists struggle with that. Oh, it's my music. Oh, it's so precious to me. I want it to be free and like this and like that. Well, hang on. We have a responsibility to the record label. We have a responsibility to the management. So these days, there's not a lot of record labels that put up big advances. Most record labels these days, they sign you up just for distribution. So there ain't the process of giving up a lot of money so that you can then go and spend your money in the studio and so and so. Not as much as before. There is still, but not as much as before. So and when you did have that in those era, a lot of people complained about it. Sorry to talk about Frank Sinatra, but a lot of people don't know that Frank Sinatra started Reprise Records, which was the first record label that gave artists creative freedom, because he was signed to Capitol Records. And he was kind of hanging out.
Pissed off with, was he pissed off with Capitol Records? So he decided to put up his own.
Yeah, fuck yeah. He was hanging out in publishing houses. By the way, Frank Sinatra was a massive fan of black music. He was always hanging out with Louis Armstrong. And he was always
Miles
just into
Davis.
He was just into black music and all these bands. I mean, Quincy Jones was Frank Sinatra's arranger on stage, conductor. And he arranged all the music for him. So on the later records. So the thing with him is he had he decided on which songs, but then the label was also involved, and so he couldn't have full creative freedom, to work out what songs he wants. So he thought, fuck it. So Reprise Records, which was bought out by Warner, but he started a record label that launched a revolution that gave artists creative freedom. And Reprise is like anywhere from Green Day to Coldplay now.
Wow. So Frank Sinatra really just changed the music industry in that sense.
Frank Sinatra is number one.
Wow.
Absolutely. Well, Louis Armstrong is number one.
Okay, Louis,
Frank Sinatra is number two. But they both share kind of number one because, of course, Louis Armstrong made jazz pop. It's the first time there was pop music. But then Frank Sinatra really, just made it shine or made it a lot more accessible.
Yeah, and that the core band of Louis Armstrong with Miles Davis and who else was there in that original band? John Coltrane.
Well, that's different. So that's different generation. Miles Davis.
Okay.
Miles Davis had John Coltrane. Louis Armstrong is the early generation. Miles Davis had John Coltrane for a little bit of the time.
Okay.
But not the whole time. John then went and did his own thing.
But
Louis was a bit before that, in the First World War, post First World War. So the 20s, post First World War and into the 20s is when Louis Armstrong was really big.
Yeah, and that type of music, it's just timeless, right?
Absolutely.
What are the factors that come into play when to have music be timeless or an artist be timeless? It just has to sound good, or
I think of course it has to sound good, but I think a lot of it has to do with human mind is programmed to there's a lot of chord melodies that always have a resolution, it ends on a nice chord. And there's just tricks in the game to make things very catchy. And so catchiness is very important, but sophisticated catchiness. It's not just wishy-washy. There's kind of a lot of elements of jazz in it. Of course, I think jazz being the first pop music ever, It was the foundation of what we have today. Everything sort of went from jazz. So I think definitely elements of jazz make music timeless. Like for example, something like the Doors or Beatles. I mean, they were both. Paul was a huge jazz music fan.
Yeah, his dad played.
Yeah, so you know, a lot of people don't think that Beatles were jazzy, but fuck,
they were jazzy.
They were very jazzy. A lot of their, and you know, harmonies make things also very appealing to the ear. So there's just things that appeal to the ear.
Yeah.
So a lot, and it's not one thing necessarily. It's just a number of things when they come together. Also arrangement. You know, if you put on Thriller today by Michael Jackson, it's still gonna rock everyone.
Yeah.
Because it's just a great record and really well arranged. It's just the whole package.
And it's about combining those in and making it your own.
And so timeless music is not really, it's not one thing. It's really a lot of things that come together, including all the business side of it as well. I mean,
it has to perform well too.
Yeah, I'd hate to say that business has anything to do with the sound of timeless music, but the perception of the audience. I mean, there is music out there that has not even been heard.
That's timeless.
That's timeless.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite artists is Matthew Larkin Cassell.
I've heard of him.
No,
never heard of him.
He put out 2 records.
Yeah.
And I've got both the records, and I put that stuff on any time of the day. It's excellent music.
Yeah.
No one's fucking ever heard of it.
Yeah.
And Cy Young. So basically, what's this? It's like, you know, do you hear a tree falling in the forest if no one's there? Same kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's all this timeless music, but what's the point when no one's hearing it?
That's true.
So how timeless is
factors.
it? You know, because we measure timeless music by the amount of shelf life it has. Well, this shit didn't even make the shelf.
You
see what I mean?
That's true.
You need to get it on the shelf so that it has shelf life.
Yeah, that's true.
So, you know, that's why business is...
But that's interesting, though. I never thought about it. There is timeless music that's not on the shelf. Yeah,
totally,
weird.
never made the shelf.
But talking about, going back to the Beatles, I was scrolling through my Instagram feed and I saw you with Julian Lennon, the son of John Lennon. What was that like meeting him?
It was very trippy. I was invited to go to a dinner. He was... they've been trying to bring the reason I was invited is we've been kind of working collectively, a bunch of us, to try and repair the damage that was done when Beatles came to the Philippines. Because they claim...
Great story.
Yeah, well, they claim it was the single biggest tourism discouragement in the world in the history of the Philippines.
Just a background, what happened was Marcos invited them over, right, during their off day, and the Beatles were sort of like, no thanks, it's okay,
I think it has something to do with the church ceremony.
Church ceremony?
Yeah, like a religious thing.
In the documentary they said it was like they rejected the invitation to Malacanang, and it was like this the Marcus' son's birthday. And they blew it all up into proportion. They put it in the media, Beatles reject Marcus, and then like the Beatles, the biggest band in the world, people were spitting on them, punching them. They finally made it to the airplane, and Brian Epstein, they called Brian Epstein to come down.
The manager.
Yeah, the manager. And then he came back and they took all our money. And they were like, let's just get out of here. Let's just get out of here. They went out there, they were kissing the floor when they went down. Oh my gosh.
Well, apparently it's Paul's comment that he doesn't even want to fly over the Philippines that really hurts.
Wow.
So when I met Julian, he was completely the opposite. He's kind of a disguised talent scout. So again, because I was trying to bring in Ringo Starr. I was once offered Ringo Starr.
From Malasimbo?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that would have been
good. And you know, I tried to make it, but at the time, I don't think that the agent knew the story. So usually the way things work, either the promoter goes to the agent and inquires about an artist, or if you're big enough, the agent will come to the promoter, me, and offer. And in that instance was one of the rare instances that I had something offered, and it was of this caliber. I thought, this is huge. So I really tried to make it happen. But I realized that the agent at the time wasn't aware of the incident that had happened.
Yeah.
And so...
Man, that would have been awesome though.
Yeah, it would have been great. But
you get Julian.
But basically, Julian was super nice. He immediately introduced me to the guy that brought him there, which is another British guy. And he said, first Julian kind of semi-interviewed me. So what are you doing? You know, I was introduced to Julian as the festival organizer. So I spoke about my festival. I showed him some pictures. Because, you know, there's only so many things you can put in words. Until you show a picture, you don't really know. So So I showed him the picture and the empathy, and he was like, wow, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm a sound quality guy, I'm really into sound, and I like looking for talents. And that's when he brought his guy into the picture and introduced me to him. He's like, we exchanged cards and added each other on WhatsApp, and basically are in touch in case we discover the next, I don't know who. But a lot of people are in the business of talent discovering because, of course, they're all in the music industry. They have the established.
So he's not
segments.
performing anymore, is he? Or
He does perform.
get him on the show. Come on.
I don't think it's very difficult being John. It's very difficult being
John Lennon's son.
Man. I mean,
Must be hard.
How do you write a song and go, oh, this is better than, I don't know.
Daddy probably wouldn't approve.
Do you know what I mean? I hate the pressure. I mean, props for just being in the creative industry because your dad was that guy. Yeah. So he was just a very, very nice guy. I actually sat next to him during the dinner. No, I didn't. He sat at the end of the table. But we hung out enough for me to sort of get it. He was a real down-to-earth guy. As you'd imagine, he's not super famous like his dad.
Yeah.
But
he has like one hit song, right?
Yeah. But he's a real cool guy. And I stayed in touch with them. I'm kind of I'm in touch with them for whatever, whenever.
Yeah.
If they come, if I go, they hang out. They've got a lot of connections in Japan.
Cool. Let me know. I'd love to hang out with them.
I'll let you know.
Before we wrap up, any book recommendations that have helped you along your creative journey?
I did have one Bible that I read 4 or 5 times. Not the Bible, because I don't understand what the fuck is in that.
Bible, like your own Bible.
Well, this one. Well, I shouldn't really say the Bible, but because I never read. I mean, I've tried to read the Bible. I really have tried to read the Bible, and all I see is like people 2020 years ago tripping on shrooms or something, talking about being enlightened, so I thought this is too heavy for me. I need to get on a different level to be able to focus to read this stuff. So I haven't gone through the Bible, but there's a book by Brian Tracy called Maximum Achievement. Super kitsch name, really, really bad name. But
terrible name.
Terrible name for a book.
Yeah.
But it resonated with me as a teenager. And I wasn't really a book guy.
Yeah.
I struggled to focus in class.
Yeah.
I think because of the acoustics in the classrooms, I always had sensitive hearing. So I struggled to focus, and but I was a real keen go-getter and achiever. I thought because we sort of went through a war and my parents were summoned to being like laborers and doing sort of difficult work, I had this like super motivation to get my parents off the construction sites and help my friends, and I thought I'm going to go out there and become successful. So this book resonated. So the name as a teenager did resonate with me. Now it's like a terrible name. But what it does, it just teaches you how to program your super consciousness. A lot of people think consciousness, subconsciousness, but of course there's the super consciousness. And through repetition and through writing and some other tricks in the book that he talks about, you're actually able to program your super consciousness so that as long as you repeat some of the things that you aspire to do and write them down, they eventually happen. And so I followed some of the rules in this book, and very early I achieved some things. Like as an 18-year-old, we were a runner-up in this huge nationwide competition on radio, which is what kicked my music career. We were meant to win it. We were runners-up, and I was told that the reason that we didn't win is because my vocals were too low in the mix. And I remember being in the studio, and the engineer was mixing that stuff down, and I was like, "Can you turn the vocals up?" And he said, no, that's going to get turned up in the mastering process.
Oh,
I was 16 years old. I had no idea what he meant.
That
Mastering
sucks.
process, okay, you can turn it up in the mastering process, great. So in that moment, I decided that I would go and study sound and music business so that when I do decide to put out music, it won't be at someone's jeopardy. You know what I mean? So I actually ended up getting into everything, into all the nitty-gritties of the music business, and I just got stuck in it. I ended up being a promoter. But I was really just trying to learn sound and all the business side of it so I can get back in my band and still make it as a musician. But I got stuck in the sound, and I'm really obsessed with sound now. So I thought, well, sound engineering is my bigger calling than just being some musician. I think I'm a hardworking guy, so that's my biggest strength and my craziness for sound and having a good ear. So that's it. That's my little niche. I'll just focus on that. And so I've been focused on that, and so far it's doing well. I mean, I can't brag. about materialistic things, but I'm also not chasing the materialistic things either.
Yeah.
I can, though, at any point, if I decide to go and be really business savvy about this, I probably will get up and get savvy. But I liked the idea of time passing by and things sort of building on their own. And you know, right now I'm just in a good family period of my life. I'm not putting too much strain on my professional life. I'm just rolling with what I have, and I do a lot of listening, if it makes any sense. I listen to a lot of things so that I don't trip over and get too ahead of myself. I used to be very overly ambitious before and thought I could do everything. Even when I came to the Philippines, I thought I could do this and that and this and this and this. And then I realized, no. You just plant a lot of the seeds and then let everyone else do all this stuff. And you just keep to what you do best.
Yeah.
And that's your thing. And then I'm not confused that I'm getting in amongst other people's turf.
Yeah.
So it just keeps me focused. And, you know, I've got values. I just stick to them. And so
Great.
I don't have internal battlings.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, it's difficult being a person in today's world because you battle all sorts of shit. The pressure of seeing someone be super famous on Instagram alone, like, oh, I want to be like that. You know, I don't aspire to a lot of those things that I see. I'm just in a zone where I set myself where I want to be, and I'm happy being there.
Great. Well, there were a lot of gems in this conversation, and we'll definitely learn a lot. The listeners, hopefully. But thank you for your time, and this is a lot of fun. Oh, this is a lot of fun.
Thanks, brother.
Miro, thank you.